I bet you were thinking you were going to find out why we put that fifth wheel in the back of the pickup.
But not so fast. We're switching gears and we're going farming. So you guys are just going to have to stick around to find out, maybe next week, who knows, why we put that fifth wheel in the back of the pickup.
So if you're like our fan, 4-year-old Steven from Kansas City, Missouri, this one's for you. Got some farming video coming right up.
Good morning. So today I'm in the 9430, the 4-wheel drive, and Pat was out here yesterday working up some dirt. We're getting close to getting ready to plant corn, but this tractor threw a code yesterday while he was running it, and it ended up being for the EGR valve, and I started up this morning. It is no longer an active code, and I talked to the John Deere service tech, and they said go ahead and run it. They do have a ticket created for it, so they're ready to replace it if they need to. They got one on hand, so we're gonna go out here, and I guess there's about 40 acres left here. There's 200-ish acres, so I think there's about 40 left, and we're gonna see if that code will rear its ugly head again and see what happens. So bring you guys along and we'll stir up some dirt. Alright guys, I got a couple tires that look suspect back there, so we're gonna go check them, see what we got. Got a bad feeling we got some flat tires. Windy, really windy out today. Hope we don't have flat tires, but we'll see. Okay, these look normal. Them in there, for some reason, something doesn't look right. I mean, they're not flat, but yeah, that one for sure is spongy. So while I'm here, I'm gonna check them all. See how good I am at walking across the frame. All right. Oh yeah, I think we got some corn stalks balling up a little bit in there. I mean, it's doing a really decent job. Oh, look at there, got a rock. Here's what we're running today. I think that's, don't quote me, but I think that's a 2012, but holy smokes, that wind makes it cold. Makes you wonder if you should be starting to plant. We'll check the soil temp. There's a website that you can use and it'll give you like the last 3-day average. So anyway, I get tractor with the heat. Woo! Yeah, feels much better in here. This tire's got a slow leak. Yeah, it's pretty much flat. Nothing left in it. £20. Put 35 in it. That's what the tire says anyway. Select the right field. Okay, new work. Okay, so that's got my boundary line. I'm going to set my GPS. What? A little vibration going on. New track. Heading. I'm going to do a...
Airport. Thank you much.
Okay. Set my heading. So it's got my lines. Okay. She unfolds slowly. She's 45 foot wide, so we get a lot done once we get unfolded. And this tractor will pull it at like 8 mile an hour, 9 mile an hour. I guess I'm not talking to anybody. I get that microphone away from my mouth. Not talking to anybody on the phone anyway. I'm talking to these guys here.
Yeah, they came along.
They came along today, doing some field work. All right, we're ready to go. Start out in like 10th, 9th gear. We will hook to our track, put it in the dirt. Looks like I ended up sitting on the same track as when they put on anhydrous, which I wasn't planning on doing, but I thought I'd be off just a little bit, but it'll work out.
Okay, so talk to them about...
These guys?
Yeah.
Okay. Talk to them about what?
So in the fall, they put on anhydrous.
Yep.
And then that all winter just like soaks into the ground.
I'm not going to say that it soaks in. So what you do with anhydrous in the fall is you add a additive to it. And my understanding is it helps the anhydrous, which is nitrogen, it helps it to adhere to the soil particles so that it doesn't leach out or get away from you. 2 reasons. Obviously you don't want nitrates in your water, and you don't want to lose all that money you put in the field. So, and the reason why and then you might say, well, why don't you just do it in the spring, instead of doing it in the fall and have that risk? Well, because there's a lot to do once field conditions get ready, and if you can have one of your passes done the fall before, you're just that much further ahead. So now you can see how nice that looks, what we've just worked.
So by you working up the ground now, it's fine. It's not like letting anything go because it's already...
No, it's actually the anhydrous would have got put in a little bit deeper than what I'm doing right now. So I shouldn't be stirring up any of the soil that's got nitrogen in it. But yeah, it's supposed to adhere to the soil. Now in the fall, you want to make sure your soil temp is below 50 degrees before you put anhydrous on. The warmer the soil temperature is, it starts releasing the nitrogen. So you want your soil temperature cool in the fall to start putting on anhydrous. So what we're doing right now is we're working up so this field was beans last year. We are working it up, which does a couple things. It opens up the soil, because right now there's a crust on top. So it opens it up, kind of helps it to warm up a little bit. Second thing it does is if there's any weeds germinating right now, we're ripping them out. So we're just gaining ourselves time before we have to spray the first time. And it makes it smoother for planting. When you got a corn planter that can run 10 mile an hour, you want the ground to be relatively smooth. So now we do no-till our beans, which means that we don't touch those corn stalks we just plant right into the corn stalks. You know, that planter runs a lot slower, so you can get by with that. But got a downspout in the field. It has been very windy, so you just never know what you're going to find in the field out here. So
last year we found a trampoline.
Oh, 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
2 years ago, there was a trampoline, and so I actually got a call from the guy that lives in the house and says, "Hey, when you're out flying around this summer, like when we're spraying, look for." We lost our trampoline, so when I was over here spraying this field, I found the trampoline about 300 feet out into the field. So, yeah, you get to do, maybe sometimes when you're out spraying, you get to actually look for trampolines in the field. I've been asked to look for portable outhouses from like the seed corn company. You know, wind will come through and, you know, all of a sudden they're missing outhouses or whatever. So I've been asked to look for cows. I've been asked to
21-25.
Look for a guy's pickup that got stolen.
Yeah, go ahead.
Actually, that happened twice.
Yeah.
So yeah, get all kinds of requests. You know, when people know you have an airplane.
And boy, can you see it from the air too.
Well, people can hide things behind their house or behind the tree line or whatever, you know, from the road, so people can't see it. But out flying around, you see all that stuff. So when I was looking for the pickup, the one time the guy had one place in particular that he wanted to look, and it wasn't there. But anyway, the other guy had no idea. So what we did is we just did a circle pattern. We started at his house and just started going out about a half a mile every round and just circling, and went out to about 10 miles, and we never did find it. I don't know if they ever did find the truck, but anyway.
Wasn't that like in the summer? Was that in the summer?
Yes, it was.
So the fields were already planted and all of the crop was up. So when something drives into a standing crop, boy, can you see it from the air.
Yeah.
So that was why it was,
Yeah, but you know, like a waterway or something inside of a cornfield,
yeah.
you could hide a semi in there and people from the road wouldn't even know it was there. So, but yeah, kind of off topic there. But yeah, you get a lot of requests when you're out flying to look for certain things that people have lost.
Yeah, people think they're hiding stuff behind their shed. Well, they are from the road, but yeah, you can see a lot from here.
Yep. So we had shut down the corn planter for a day and a half, and because we had, you know, all these big storms rolling in, and so, you know, I could have came over here and worked this field up the other day, but if you get a hard rain on top of what you just worked, then it makes a crust on top again. So can that planter plant into a crust? Yeah, it can, but you know, if you're going to work it up, I like planting into nice, fluffy, mellow soil, I guess. So, yeah, so we held off.
Germination, that helps germination too, because
Right.
like you said, the soil is warmer.
Right. Well, and then the other thing is, this farm's kind of a wet farm. So had we worked it and then not got it planted, and then we got an inch of rain, this probably would end up being one of the last fields that we could plant. So I didn't want the seed in the seed tender.
Because you had specific seed for each farm.
We got a plan for every field, so I didn't want the seed in the seed tender. You know, we could have went and picked up the seed already. Didn't want that. Didn't want to work it. Only if we knew we were going to get everything completely done is the only reason we were going to continue. But so I ended up getting off early Wednesday afternoon. Storm was supposed to come in on Thursday, but we had a airport board meeting to go to on Wednesday night, and I didn't have time to get it worked up and get it all planted. So we just.
So it was nice you got the lawn done.
I got my lawn mowed, and I got some things done at home, and then we got to go to the board meeting, and that was super fun. And so anyway, now we're back. It is Friday. We didn't really get much rain, so we are back at it.
Yep.
And then tomorrow's Saturday, and I think we're all quitting by noon tomorrow. It's Easter weekend. I think Pat's heading to Western Iowa. Amy's got a family thing at noon tomorrow, and we have commitments tomorrow morning, and that's top secret. I can't tell you guys what it is yet, but that'll be upcoming, so make sure you keep watching because we got something coming up.
Yeah.
So,
Something top secret.
top secret. Alright, so we're gonna switch.
Never mind. Come here.
Murphy, what are you doing?
Murphy.
Murphy! Murphy, come here!
I called him Maverick.
Come here! Come here, Maverick! Come on! Come on! Come here!
Hi.
How are you?
Good.
John's East, yes. Corn, 9:53 a.m. .81 acres in this field. All right, I think we're ready. Okay, we switched. Pat brought the planter over to us. Got it unfolded for us, and so he just got his first kind of learning on this the other day, so he went through the screens and got it unfolded and did okay with that. And so I'm gonna get the end rows and everything going on this field, and he's gonna go run the soil finisher, and at some point today he might come and run this planter just to start getting some hours in it. So yeah, but we're gonna run it right now and get some corn planted.
The rain is holding off. It's just kind of spritzing.
Yep.
Not enough to make anything messy.
Hopefully it doesn't rain any harder than when it's raining. Like she said, it's just misting. So we'll see how it goes.
This soil looks great.
Corn is going in the ground. Don't want to hit a telephone pole. That would be a bad day.
Yeah, it would.
I've got a boundary here between a cornfield and a bean field, and I don't really know where it's at because there's no fence post or anything. So you can line up and do GPS guidance along the boundary, but I'm just kind of running it by looking at the map. You got to make sure that your boundaries are correct, because the retailer also has the boundaries, and that's how they're going to spray the field. So if you would by chance put beans in your cornfield boundary and then they spray the cornfield, it's going to kill the beans. Say you happen to move that line over 3 foot or whatever. So you got to stay on your boundary lines. And I probably should have ran the boundary guidance on it. I'm kind of a rookie at that, so I just kind of was eyeballing it. But anyway, that's what I did.
About how fast are you running?
The seed size on your corn kernels can affect your singulation and that sort of thing. So the other day, once I got into this seed, I dropped down to like 8.5 to 9 miles an hour.
10-4. How about on the soil finisher here?
Oh, soil finisher. Gear 13.
10-4.
So what I did on the first round, if you notice, I'm not using markers anymore, but on my first line, I set my guidance. So I set a point on the beginning end, and then I set a point at the other end. And now that, every 60 foot, that gives me a line across this field for my guidance. So a 24 row planter is 60 foot wide. So yeah, so now I'm on auto steer. I've got one more set of end rows to put on the other end of the field, but along the waterways I only do 24 rows instead of 48. So normally around a field we'll do 2 rounds, which would be 48 rows. That gives you plenty of room to turn without worrying about hitting the fence and that sort of thing. So but along the waterways you don't have a fence, so I usually only run 24 rows. Unless it's a waterway within the field, then you just go right across it. So anyway.
So speaking of waterways, you just planted right through it. You didn't pick up the planter.
That's correct. So in the old days, when you planted across the waterway, the planter would keep planting. So nowadays, with all your field mapping and everything, your tractor knows where the waterway is, so when that first row of the planter hits that waterway, it'll shut it off, and it'll just shut them all off one by one as you go across, and once it comes out the other side, it'll turn them all back on, all automatically. So that's what's nice. You're not wasting seed anymore, and makes it really nice. It's, and I say I'm not very old. Well, I'm 56, but back in the day when I first started learning planting, you didn't have any of this fancy stuff, and you ended up wasting a lot of seed going across the waterways and that sort of thing. But so yeah, I'm not sure if my seed's coming down the road here or not, but I'm not sure how much I got left in here. So. But yeah, that's kind of the waterway thing. You don't have to worry about wasting seed anymore. But yeah, I got this one pass of end rows, and then I'll come back over here and just run my straight line all the way across the field. So yeah, that looks like that's my seed showing up.
You can tell too when you have to turn around and start again, it's not going to overplant.
Yep. Zoom out. There's the part of the field I'm working on right now. Pat's on the other side of this waterway over here working that field right now. So I just got this section ready so we can start planting.
Seed is here, so we can fill up. We're backing up to the driveway. We were just changing the row cleaners.
Yeah, the row cleaners that are in front of the rows, I've got them up now, but I can put them down. I can make all that change right here from the screen. I don't even have to go back there and do anything.
That is so nice.
In bean stubble, I really don't need them. The problem we're having today is there's no sunshine, and it kind of missed it a little bit. It stopped now, but there's no sunshine to dry the surface off. So Pat's getting some bunches behind the field cultivator, and I just need to make sure that my row cleaners are down far enough to whip that stuff out of the way. So I'll probably slow down just a little bit over there. This side's been pretty good, but we got a little bit missed as we got this field done and started getting over to the other side. The waterway coming up. I'm going to take the camera. Right here, that's each row planting. If it's green, it's planting. Kimberly's going to watch that with her phone. Here's the yellow line coming up. That's the waterway, which you see right there. So as we're getting to it, you're going to see on Kimberly's video that the rows start shutting off wherever it hits the waterway and then turns back on. So we got another one coming up here, but that's really nice because you're not wasting seed. You know, the seed is expensive, so don't quote me, but I think like a bag of seeds like $250 to $300, so it's over 200. I know that. So it's expensive.
And we didn't have to pick up the planter?
Nope. If your waterways are smooth, you can just leave the planter down and go right across them. So
very efficient.
Yep. So we've got 23.7 acres done in this field already. And I'm going to give Kimberly that camera back because I got to turn around. So, yeah, it doesn't take long to get a lot of work done with this planter. So now, part of my pass is already planted. So you're going to see that only half the planter is going to turn on right now. So all this is already planted, so it just shuts it off. And that's the other nice thing, in your end rows, you don't have all these crisscrossed rows in this mess when you go to plant. You know, it's everything's clean. You don't have any double planting anywhere.
Get out of my field.
It tried to come over there. I had to bring her back.
Brakes over.
I don't think you're supposed to have to be running your windshield wiper while you're planting. Not the first time we've done that, I guess. Hopefully I can get the end rows on this thing, on this field, and maybe we'll be done for the day, and then whenever it dries out, at least I'll have the end rows on. Pat's never run this planter before, but we're wanting to get him into it so he can start by planting the inside of a field instead of having to do the end rows and running your edge up against the fence and all that kind of stuff. Let him get used to it in the middle of the field before we throw him on to doing edges and stuff like that. So anyway, hopefully we get the end rows on.
Okay, so when you're planting corn, how do you decide how to plant it? I know you said you do the outside first, but then how do you decide exactly where to plant?
What direction we're going to plant?
Yes.
When we go to plant a field, number one, you don't want to plant straight up and down a hill, because then when it rains, if you get a big rain, you're going to get water running right down those rows, and you'll have soil erosion and all that. So that's not good. What we do here is conservation tillage. So we're no-tilling our soybeans into our cornfield. So if you look down here in the field, look at all the corn stalks that are left over. That's from 2 years ago, because this field was beans last year, and that's that's how many corn stalks are left over. You know, we don't moldboard plow anymore, which would turn everything over and you would have 100% black dirt on top. We don't do that anymore. We don't do a lot of stuff that turns it over and puts the bare dirt on top. I think we've talked about this before in one of the videos, and we showed a snowbank in the wintertime that from all the blowing across the field, the snowbank was just black from dirt. So we want to try and avoid that if we can. So that's kind of why we do what we do. Yeah, we could no-till the corn too, but I don't know. I just feel like we get a little better emergence. Maybe I don't know. Maybe that's just totally false feeling that I have. But I like to turn over the bean stubble, get that soil a little bit warmer, and to get that corn, that kernel germinated. A lot of guys no-till their corn. I mean, maybe we're just wasting energy. I don't know. So, but we are no-tilling our soybeans. So the soybeans will be planted into that field without it getting worked. The only time we work corn stalks is when it's going back to corn again the next year. So we call that corn on corn. So that's the only time. And what we do to work it, we don't use a disc anymore. We use what's called a turbo till, I think was the original name for it from the original manufacturer that first made one. But it's more of a straight disc, a waffled disc, but it's straight. So it cuts the stalks, but it doesn't turn a bunch of dirt over. It leaves a lot of the corn stalks exposed. So if you have exposed corn stalks on top of your soil, when it rains, the energy from that raindrop will hit that corn stalk and dissipate all that energy and then just run off of it and go into the soil. Whereas if you have all these raindrops hitting bare soil, it'll hit it so hard it'll mix up the dirt, and then next thing you know, it's running down the gullies and you're losing topsoil. And I've talked about that before in one of our cover crop videos. We've got to conserve our topsoil because I think they figured in this area we're down to around a foot of topsoil left, 12 to 14 inches. I don't remember what the number was, but there's not very much topsoil left. I mean, we don't want to be losing it. We want to do everything we can to try and conserve it. So that's what we're trying to do. You know, farmers aren't out here just willy-nilly destroying the earth, and you know, we're trying to do everything we can because, you know, the kids and grandkids beyond us are going to be farming this ground. So we got to do everything we can to try and conserve this topsoil, and you know, not have our nitrates getting into the water system and all of that stuff. So you know, we're learning. Farmers are learning as we go. I mean, we don't do things that we did 40, 50, 60 years ago. So I wasn't here 60 years ago, but you get the point. You know, farmers are constantly learning too and adopting new techniques to adopt better farming practices. So anyway, that's just a little spiel on conservation tillage. That's what we do.
That's
Conservation tillage.
Conservation tillage.
We're done. Going home. Still misting. And it's just starting to get gummy on the gauge wheels, which that affects your depth, and we're just gonna call her quits. We're still early. We're not worried about it.
So we have 34 acres remaining.
Yep.
So we got a little over half done, which is good.
Yep. So we got 47 done. We got 34.2 to go. This field's only 5 miles from the farm, so it's not a big deal. Go home, put it in the shed, and see what tomorrow brings.